On your Friday episode of Locked On Raptors, New Year, same toxic positivity, but this Friday, is it really all that toxic?
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Friday, January the 3rd, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find me over on socials. I'm on Blue Sky. The show's on Instagram. You can also join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. Free to join to become part of our little community of sickos over there in the Sicko Den, aka the Discord. Link is there. It's free, as always, to become part of our little listener community. You can also go and support the daily Locked On Raptors newsletter, which is inching towards 1,000 subscribers from you little freaks. Thank you so much for supporting the newsletter. You're all the very best. And you can go to the QR code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube to go and subscribe, or you can go to the link in the description if you're listening to the podcast. It's much appreciated when you do that. And you get 5 days a week of me writing about the Raptors into your inbox for no charge. There's no downside. You also get Katie Heindl 4 days a week. We'll talk to Katie Heindl here in 1 second. You can also get Josh Lloyd's fantasy tips and all that good stuff. Go support the newsletter. It's much appreciated. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started, and we'll get started here on your Friday edition of the show. It's a new year, but we continue the weekly tradition through this season of many losses. It is Toxic Positivity Friday, the day where we put up the blinders to all that is bad in Toronto Raptors basketball and just talk about the good stuff. And today, it doesn't feel like we're being all that toxic. There's hope springing eternal from the Toronto Raptors. Immanuel Quickley's back. They might have the whole roster available tonight. What a world. We will get into that and the things that are bringing us optimism and hope for the year 2025 that lies ahead. And we will do so with the aforementioned Grand Poobah of the Locked On Newsletter Network, whatever we're calling it. It is Katie Heindl. Katie, how the hell are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm great. I'm good. As we talked about when we got started, it feels very strange to have New Year's fall in the middle of the week, but I'm rolling with it.
The way it's lined up, it's just given us 2 weeks that are write-offs back to back. Thank you, calendar. You're the best. It's lovely stuff. And we're gonna kick off the new year here with a little, again, Toxic Positivity Friday. It's been a recurring segment throughout the season on Fridays as we try to keep it light with a team that's 8-26. And as I mentioned before, for the most part this year, it's been like I'm doing a bit. I'm crafting the bit hard, and I'm working really hard to take these long walks to toxic positivity as the team loses many, many basketball games. It doesn't actually feel like I need to contrive too much this week, Katie. Emmanuel Quickley is back. They snapped their 11-game losing streak. It's a new year, time for resolutions and putting the past behind us and all of that. And it just felt like that single game of Quickley being back and seeing the sort of vision of this team, even without RJ Barrett available, seeing it come together with Quickley and Barnes in particular, the two guys the Raptors paid in the offseason to be the pillars of this thing going forward. It felt really good to watch it actually play out on the basketball court for the first time since opening night. And it was just 14 minutes on opening night before Quickley went down. Katie, it's warranted positivity. You can take your hazmat suit off. There's no toxicity here. Breathe in the air. It feels great.
It is. I did a radio spot last night, and a shout out to Eilish Fofar, who was like, Raptors undefeated in 2025.
Hell yeah.
But we were obviously joking about it, but it does feel like a good new leaf, to turn over. And given, the fact that Quickley's back, and as you mentioned, the whole roster could be back and healthy and intact soon. And I think that in that fast of that quickly of him being back, of Quickley being back, God.
I know we're back to this being a thing where his name being an adverb is challenging.
It's okay. But as fast as that happened, you also saw the adaptation, I think, like kind of snap throughout the roster. Scotty
Mhm.
Barnes was like much more free to do Scotty Barnes things, to play really aggressively, like he didn't have to be in possession of bringing the ball so much. And like, I think the communication, I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but I think the communication was so much better. It's
Mhm.
just, he really organized things in a needed way. And it was very cool to see. And yeah, as you say, it made the rest of the year, and it made also looking at this as like, if you want to look at this as like season start 2.0,
Yeah.
is realistic.
It really does feel like that because like it has felt like false start after false start for the first 2.5 months, where anytime it seems like they're approaching, oh, they're like one guy away from the piece being the puzzle being completed, another guy goes out, and then they come back and then another guy goes out and quickly continues to be on the sidelines with very little in the way of reporting on his return. What a wonderful surprise it was to just have him available on Wednesday out of nowhere after really no inkling that it was going to happen. But yeah, like this whole season was about seeing what the players they have on the team look like together, and we haven't gotten to see that. And I think the sort of prolonged nature of the Quickley injuries in particular, there's this thing. Our Blue Sky pal Jack Sullivan noted this, where there's this thing that happens in like basketball fans' brains, and I'm sure all sports fans' brains, where like a prolonged injury, if it lasts long enough, you kind of conflate it with, oh, the team's just bad now, or the
Mhm.
player who was hurt is bad because they're hurt. And like that has never computed to me, but it's like clearly a thing that is like a shared psychosis of sports fans, where if an injury happens long enough, that is just the new reality that the world exists in, and there's nothing to change it. And it's really nice to be reminded that, oh, a guy can get hurt and he's not in fact dead, and the team can kind of carry on and pick up the pieces after a prolonged absence, and it can all be fine. I guess with Quickley back now, Katie, like what are the things you are most encouraged or excited to watch over the next, I mean, let's say 12 months? We're doing a full year outlook here. We finally get some run of this team the way it's intended. We've had 10 games back in February of 2024 where they kind of did. And then that's about it. It's been pretty sparse since then. Obviously you've had moments of Scotty with RJ and various iterations of guys who are going to matter for the long term, but we haven't seen the whole some of its parts together. Quickley in particular, like how do you sort of go into watching this next stretch of him? Like what are you watching for? What are you excited to see? And what kind of element are you just like encouraged to have back in the mix now that he's there?
As I mentioned before, I think just his general distribution and the way that, as a primary ball handler, he is such a great organizer. And
Yeah.
he does it, I think, in a way that might be different for longtime Raptors fans, because he's not necessarily like barking out orders. It's more of like an intuitive understanding of where guys should be, or maybe kind
Mhm.
of like willing them there by the way that he's playing. Um, he is like a very good like metronome, I do feel
Sure.
like, for the team. Things don't feel as scrambly with him. Though I like Scotty Barnes said this after the game the other night, but just how much of a communicator Quickly is, and how,
Yeah.
he's talking the whole time he's on the floor, and how it was nice to have that back. And though that did raise a tiny little red flag in my head, to be like, why wasn't that happening?
Why was no one else talking?
Why
Yeah.
weren't you guys talking this whole
Just a bunch of
time?
mutes out there,
Or
sad their
like, was
point guard's
that
not
what was
around.
happening? You were just playing silent basketball. Anyway, it was nice to hear that, they've got that back, because that's pretty crucial, especially I think with a team at the developmental stage that the Raptors are at, where like everything isn't going to be automatic. You need someone to kind of dictate these things, even at the best of times. And I think you see what happens when that weight is off Scotty Barnes' shoulders. Especially I was noting like his shooting was great, like 14 of 18. But I think
Mhm.
him being so active up around the glass was also very cool to see. And I think that's just a product of not feeling so fatigued,
Yep.
and being able to like expend that energy to go up for extra rebounds and be that presence at the rim, which is good. So, and like more of this, I think we'll see the Quickly effect, I guess, on the rest of the team the more games that he's back. But generally, just like being honestly, I think like the brains of the outfit in a
Yeah.
way, like everything runs through him,
Yep.
the IQ of the team. Um,
Love it.
it's
Great.
very nice.
Good. Really
to
good.
see that back. That's very good to me.
Yeah, it is. It's I mean, I'm a sucker for point guard play. I wrote about this yesterday in my newsletter. I might have mentioned it on the podcast, but like I don't know, and I feel like you're probably in this as well as a person who watched 2000s and 2010s basketball. Like
Mhm.
I'm a child of Steve Nash and Chris Paul and Kyle Lowry. Give me a point guard who just like knows what the hell's up at all times on the floor. And it seems like Quickley kind of has that. You could say that Immanuel Quickley is the toxically positive force that this basketball team needs, which is a wonderful thing. We're going to come back on the side here, Katie, and get into reasons that we're excited about 2025 at large, not just tied to watching Immanuel Quickley play basketball. I am not someone who typically, peddles in draft optimism. But am I doing that this year? I think I maybe am. We're going to do that coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, the #1 sportsbook in North America, which you can go and check out right now as the NFL playoffs draw near, and you can get in on the action on the final week of the regular season. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. You can do that, of course, by throwing a bet down on all sorts of things like, will this player score a touchdown? How many points will this team score? Will this team cover the spread? It's all there for you to go and peruse on the very easy-to-use FanDuel app. You can even make in-game bets. If you're sitting there and you're watching a game and you think, I think my team's going to score a touchdown here, you can go make some money on that hunch by throwing some bucks down on their live bets page. Of course, it's not just the NFL. You can go peruse all sorts of things. You can do futures for MLB if you want to go pick where the Blue Jays are going to finish in the AL East, 4th, 5th, I don't know, something sad probably. You can go make some money even if the Jays suck. You can also throw some money down on, awards for various sports. Who's going to go win MVP? Who's going to, win the President's Trophy in the NHL? It's all there for you. You can go check it out at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Back at it here with Katie Heindl from Basketball Feelings from the Locked On family of NBA newsletters. And let's keep trudging forward here as we look ahead to a new year of Toronto Raptors basketball. They're back in action tonight against the Orlando Magic, and they could have their full roster available if RJ Barrett is able to come back. Jonathan Mobo's with the 905, so we don't count that. He's not injured. He's just playing 905 time. They will have, hopefully, their full complement of guys here against the Magic, which would be freaking awesome. Before we get into the draft stuff and some other reasons to look forward to the year, Katie, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, how you liking Bruce Brown so far? Your boy, he's back, he's playing, he's dunking, he's looking like he's got two legs that he's happy to work with again. Feelings on Bruce Brown? He must be giving you some optimism and some toxic positivity vibes coming into the year, no?
He is. I miss the cowboy hats at the sideline, but not.
Yeah, he should be able to wear them in game, I think.
Yeah, actually.
Or more hats in game.
They come with,
just in general.
You can get the ones with strings that tie around your chin so they don't fly off when you dunk. That would be cool.
There was once the Drew Holiday Pirates headband. It's going to be taken over by the Bruce Brown athletic cowboy hat. Let's see it.
Just like make the brim, a little bit less wide so it's not slicing anybody's eyeballs if they're trying to block you. It's been very cool to see, though. I have to say, like, it's not cool to see that now he's playing again. There's been all this like trade speculation once more. Like, this is the one trade the Raptors could make. Like, stop it. He just got back.
People are pervs. I don't think that's changing in a new year, unfortunately. The trade machine perverts are going to be out there. But yeah, I am happy to see Bruce back. Bruce Brack. He got his Bruce Brack. No, it's, and look, if he gets traded, he gets traded. It's, part of the inevitability of this transaction industrial complex we have. But I still think there is a world in which the Raptors don't get an offer that sort of suits them, and they opt to roll it to the summer, either to let him walk as a free agent or to just bring him back as like a nice role player on a team that could use him going into next season. It's there's all sorts of possibilities here with Bruce Brown. Going to enjoy the experience of watching him play in the meantime. And I think it was tough, Katie, because last year they didn't really find a role for him because he was hurt and the team was in all kinds of flux and disarray. and he never really kind of found a niche. I think there are niches to be found for him within this team once they're healthy. I think this sort of easy chemistry, with a lot of guys is kind of there, as, that sort of short roll presence that he's been, the floater master that he is, the way he just kind of has this sort of frenetic energy as he buzzes around the court and does little guy things. Like I'm into it. I hope we see at least a nice long run here of Bruce Brown playing with this team to, either make him lots of money in the summer when he gets traded to a new team that keeps him, or to maybe sort of play himself into the Raptors' plans a little bit here, as there will be some guys walking this summer, and there might be some roster spots that he can go and assume. Katie, reasons for optimism in 2025. Things we're looking forward to, non-Immanuel Quickley division, because that's the thing that's dominating my feelings today. But I want to talk to you about some shame, some guilty pleasure that's creeping in for me. I'm not someone who peddles in draft optimism really ever. I think it's a way to feel very sad most of the time. You can sort of talk yourself into, oh, this prospect is generational, and then you get them, and then they're not generational. Or you can talk yourself into, my team is definitely going to win the draft lottery, which you're probably not going to do, and you're going to draft like 6th. That's kind of the life of lottery hopefuls year in, year out. Some people get lucky, and it's very nice. Some people don't. And I tend to just sort of be agnostic on it and say, hey, whatever happens will happen. I'm not getting ahead of my skis here at all. Apparently, I've been hanging out too much in the Locked On Raptors Discord draft guys channel or whatever. I've been reading too much mock draft content as I've been sitting sick on my couch for the last few weeks. But Katie, I'm kind of excited for the draft this year, and that is strange for me. There's like a running bit among listeners of this podcast that I hate young people. If you're under 26, get out of my life. That's of course not true. I just don't like young bad players. Young good players, I'm all for. It's great. But yeah, the draft is never something I look. I'm a child of having watched Andrea Bargnani be the only first overall pick in Raptors history. I'm scarred by drafts past, and I'm trying not to let myself get away with optimism for this year. But I think because they have kind of already, I think, staked their claim to like a top 5 or 6 pick with the losing streak they had and the bad fortune they've had. I think it's sort of, I talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's sort of a have your cake, eat it too situation where they can play out the rest of the season more or less as a normal basketball team and still have a nice high pick. And I don't feel like whoever they take this summer is like going to, look, if they get Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper, awesome, great. Like that seems like a big deal for the long-term health of the team. It's a real talent infusion, but I don't feel like there is like a necessity for the Raptors to go and get like if they get someone who's not the best player in the draft, but is like the 4th or 5th best player in the draft, that's fine for what they've got going. And that kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. It also seems like a pretty cool collection of players to go and watch. I'm going to start doing some draft coverage on the show here in the next few weeks and start kind of really digging in and diving in and watching these guys. And like a lot of them seem super fun, Katie. Ace Bailey, 39 points last night, getting buckets. Dylan Harper seems cool. Cooper Flagg even seems cool, even though he seems someone like I don't want to root for a Dookie, but here we are. It seems just kind of like a fun crop of dudes to get excited about in a way that last year's draft never really was. Talk me off the ledge of draft optimism, Katie. I can't believe I'm here.
I mean, I disagree with you about last year's draft because there were also unknown prospects and teenagers like these people are. And yet there's a different valuation placed on this group of unknown teenagers. Yeah, I'm obviously a draft skeptic. Mm-hmm. What you're saying is very interesting to me, though, because it's like it also sounds a lot to me like the position they were in when they drafted Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember actually talking to Dan Tolzman about this at the time, because up until then they were used to drafting like mid-20s. Right. Mm-hmm. And they did very well in that spot. And I think like that's where they excelled and had so much, like their scouting, right, was kind of the best in the league and pretty renowned. And I remember asking Dan if some of the pressure comes off because you have this like, it's supposed to be more of a known quantity if you're drafting somebody in the top 10, top 5, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, actually, in a way, it's a place we haven't really been before, with this specific team. And it does take some of the pressure off because one, there's that known quantity. They're going to be able to perform it the way you want them to sooner. But also because at that point, this did not happen. But at that point, it seemed like the team was still very competitive. So the pressure was kind of off Scotty Barnes to be that, like, we need you to win now sort of rookie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Maybe they're back there now under more honest circumstances, in the sense that, like, to have a higher pick on a team that is clearly rebuilding and is itself a known quantity, like the whole team, which is why I'm a little bit reticent of the draft and, like, this concept of tanking, because what you have now, when everybody's back, like, this is what you wanted all season. This is
nurture the guys you have, or like, what are you adding a guy to? Right?
This is what the rebuild is for, and, like, this is who you're developing, because also, the thing that nobody says is development takes time. Yeah. So if you are trying to tank and just draft a bunch of new guys, you're looking at then tacking on 1 to 2, at least, more seasons, right? To figure out what the team even is. Whether it's like, what the team is. It would be great to add somebody that fits into that. So I think in a weird way, we were both aligned. Even with
Hot Take Heindl thinks the draft is good. No, you heard it here first.
I didn't say that. This is not a hot take. This is a very measured take I have had for a long time about the draft. And the draft is like a fixer, which it is not. How many picks does your man Presti have this year? 5?
Oh, God. My man Presti. Don't be doing that. Come on now. It's a disgusting amount of picks, and they don't even have the roster spots to use them. They probably won't even trade them for good players because they're cowards who have, like, this little hoard.
They're in a weird place because they don't need to trade for better players, because they have a phenomenal team, and actually trading for someone could really disrupt that at this point.
I'm of the mind they're actually not going to use their picks to trade for anybody, and they're just going to kind of use the hoard of picks to, like, sustain the Shea, Chet, Jalen Williams thing for many, many years to a frustrating and infuriating degree. But all I hear, Katie, is you're in on the draft. You think the draft is a savior of franchises, and you love it, and it's great. I think you hit an interesting sort of note there, sort of comparing it to that Tampa season, right? And I think what felt good about that year at the time was it didn't feel like this was the first of many lotteries that you're sort of sitting there and praying are going to go your way. Like, I don't feel like wherever they end up picking this year, some guys might expedite it a little faster than others, but it doesn't feel like they're sort of setting up for the long haul of being a sad sack lottery team. They have pretty gracefully done the pivot and sort of transition to a new team that has upside pretty quickly here. I know there's a lot of issue with, the years prior to 2024 in terms of the missteps of the front office, but the last year they did a pretty damn good job wiping the slate, resetting things, putting things in motion for the next good team to take shape. And it does feel like this is going to be sort of like a 1-year dip back down into the lottery, and next year is kind of go time and you get serious, and maybe you're a play-in team, or you kind of, follow like the Rockets model of, you're bad and then you're average and then you're good. And then, we're laughing in a couple seasons time. It doesn't feel like you're staring down the barrel of many, many years in the lottery, like the Hornets or the Pistons or any number of teams that have kind of played this game for years on end without getting lucky. And, that's the benefit of already having gotten lucky to a degree with Scotty Barnes. Right. And it's a nice place to be. The draft, we're excited about it because it doesn't change our lives all that much one way or another. That's, I think, a pretty good way to feel toxically positive going into 2025. We're going to come back on the other side here, get into some quick rapid fire things that are leaving us feeling hopeful for the year that lies ahead to close out your TPF. We will do that coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at Game Time, the single best place to go buy tickets for any live events you want to go to. I love going to sporting events. I love going to concerts, theater shows, whatever it might be. And one of the best ways to go and get tickets for events is with Game Time. Game Time Picks has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events, because with that feature, Game Time Picks, it'll filter out all the fluff and show you only great deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching for thousands of tickets. that you otherwise like are. It's just like go there. They're going to tell you these are the best tickets. These are the best prices. They have a best price guarantee, which is awesome. You can go and peruse all of the wonderful features. They have all-in pricing. If you toggle it on, it's a great thing. And you can go and buy tickets for the events you want to go to. I bought tickets to a PWHL game for my in-laws for Christmas, and it was a very easy, wonderful experience with Game Time. You can go check them out right now. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked on NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code Locked on NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Well, it's game time, of course. Back at it here, wrapping things up with Katie Heindl as we send you off into your weekend, a weekend where the Toronto Raptors will play against the Orlando Magic on Friday, potentially with a healthy roster. I think RJ Barrett's still officially questionable with illness, but fingers crossed. It's been a rough go for RJ with the illness. Hopefully he can kind of get back on track and get in the lineup, and we can see the damn BBQ trio all together. What a wonderful thing. 2025, the year of BBQ, both eating and with the sports team. Katie, let's rapid fire through some things that are leaving us feeling hopeful, feeling optimistic, feeling good, feeling toxically positive about the year that lies ahead for your 8-26 Toronto Raptors. I'll give it to you first. You have the floor. What's a thing that's got you feeling excited about the year that lies ahead?
Jakob Poeltl not getting so scratched up around the rim for the aforementioned reason of Scotty Barnes being back around there. Generally, the load being somewhat lightened for him because I was very intrigued by, the shooting he was, yes, a bit forced to do, but wouldn't it be cool if that continued?
Jakob Poeltl finishing 1 million push shots? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
It feels like, look, there are going to be nights where he doesn't put up 20 points because there's just a lot of guys who can score on the team now when they're healthy, but there will be games where I feel like it's just going to be like death by IQ Poeltl pick and roll, and Yak's going to feast, and it's going to be great. On that note, a thing I'm really excited for, I wrote about this a few weeks ago in the newsletter, but like not having pre-trade deadline dread, Katie, and just like feeling like, all right, they're not going to trade Poeltl. They're not going to go and do some crazy like tear down move. They're just going to kind of let this thing ride. Bruce, we'll see. But and maybe you have pre-trade deadline dread regarding Bruce Brown as your boy and all of that. But yeah, it's a wonderful place to be for, a team that for the last few years has been like increasingly weird at the trade deadline. Just going in Hakuna Matata mode. It's awesome, Katie.
Yeah, I think that is going to be really good. I think also RJ Barrett, like playing once he's back healthy and getting to play with the kind of full strength of this trifecta that has clearly worked so well the brief times that we've seen it, is going to be so good for his development this season, which I do think he would have been on track for, I don't know, at least an all-star nod and recognition. I don't know if that will happen now.
Sure.
But just given how well he was playing and I think carrying the team at times.
Yep.
But regardless of outside recognition, I think it will still be fantastic to see him, just get to play that way and get to play with a team that is for once a little bit structured around him. He's never had that yet in his career.
Totally. We saw it for those 10 games last February where they had the team. It was Gary Trent Jr. starting in place of presumably Grady Dick, who's going to be the 5th starter now. It worked. They were really good. And it was kind of where RJ found his niche as this really good, third option who maybe leads the team in scoring a lot of nights because he just finishes plays so damn well. And a lot of the action just kind of funnels towards him over the course of a possession. And yeah, I've had my issues with RJ Barrett's defense and all of that. And, that's going to be, I think, one of the recurring storylines of 2025 is, can he kind of find a way to tap back into an earlier version of himself where he's closer to average than he's been this year, where he's been quite rough? But, on offense, I think it's kind of unassailable, the fit of these guys. And I think they're going to put up numbers. I think they're going to score a ton. They might even outscore their defensive problems. And that's a great thing. Just getting to see BBQ play together this year. How can you not feel great about that? Another thing I'm kind of excited about, Katie, and I can't speak for the entire fan base. The fan base loves to be hysterical. We saw this in December when for all kinds of pretty justifiable reasons. They lost a bunch of games and everyone melted down. And Scotty Barnes is cooked and washed and bad. Darko should be fired, hire Jordy. All the things, the sort of easy, low-hanging fruit freak takes that people have when just like a little bit of bad stuff happens after what everyone agreed was like a pretty rollicking fun first 25 games or so. This happens. Fan bases are fickle. They are reactionary. It's not just Raptors fans, although Raptors fans, I think, have a little special twinge of, extra reactionaryism baked within their souls, which is fine, whatever. But I'm just like, I'm hoping that getting the team back and healthy and like playing normal functional basketball, even if they don't win a lot of games, I hope it instills a bit of a let's just enjoy it kind of mindset. I think this was kind of almost there at the start of this year, but this really should be the year of just the sort of blissful, like nothing really matters all that much. Let's just enjoy the fun hoop kind of mindset that you don't get to enjoy very often as a fan, Katie. A lot of the time, once you get to a point where you're too bad, it's like dread and like hoping for lottery's fortune to save you and all of that. Like we said, I don't think the Raptors are really in that position right now. And then when you start to get good, expectation creeps in and like, contractual stuff starts to hang over teams. And, the sort of pressure to actually win games saps a little tiny bit of the joy of just sort of the day-to-day viewing experience. They're in the position now where they can just play basketball unencumbered by expectation or sort of the concern of, is this team going somewhere? I think the play is going to speak for itself once they have the team healthy, and it's going to sort of indicate the arrows are pointing up sometime down the road for a team that is still mostly comprised of early to, very early 20 somethings. And, I think the sort of runway can kind of reveal itself here in a way that just lets people relax and enjoy the basketball team, which is ostensibly what this whole thing is about, is just enjoying the basketball team. What do you think about that, Katie? Like, do you think this can be the year the Raptors fandom chills the hell out?
No. But I hope so. I was going to say, because the thing, I'm looking forward to more TikTok dances and social content dancing from the locker room. But the more I think about that, the more I think it's going to freak some people out.
Oh, yeah. People will be like, why aren't they practicing more? Why are they dancing? Why are they having fun? Yeah. Cool.
I think the panic that you mentioned is inherent to Toronto sports teams as a whole, in a very unique way. And I will say, I get it. It is warranted sometimes. But if there is a year that you can relax, it is this one. It should be this one.
Have fun before expectation makes it so fun is a lot harder to have. I guess leave the dread in 2024. Please. The dread will come back surely at some point soon. Hopefully the good kind of dread where it's like, will my team win this important basketball game? But there aren't really important basketball games, just learning basketball games happening now. Enjoy them. The world is hell. Enjoy the cool guys throwing dunks and stuff, is my suggestion to everyone to be your New Year's resolution for 2025. Any other things, Katie, quickly, rapid fire style, that you are looking forward to in 2025 from your Toronto Raptors basketball club?
I'm looking forward to Darko being able to coach the group that he probably signed on to coach the whole time, and that he can diversify his post-game statements a little bit to his own benefit. I do love hearing how proud he is of the team and how much he supports, X guy on any given night. But he probably wants more to talk about, and this group will give him that.
That's a really great point. Like it's been, as far as hands dealt to new coaches, the last 18 months or 2 years, whatever it's been, pretty difficult one to navigate for Darko Rajakovic. And look, he's not above criticism. There are certainly things that I'm sure he would say that he can improve upon, as any coach learning the job is probably going to say if they're even remotely self-aware. But like, he finally gets a chance to kind of imprint his own sort of philosophies onto a team that is sort of befitting of like NBA level philosophies. Like last year's team was not that. It was a joke. It was a disaster. It was a mess of the front office's creation. And Darko was kind of caught up in all of it. And to start this year, the injuries have just been a really damn difficult reality to navigate. And so, yeah, I look forward to a team playing normal Darko ball, and hopefully the the really nice under the hood stuff. The fact that they are like the third best team in the league when it comes to overall shot quality, having that kind of matched by the talent on the floor, and hopefully kind of improving and taking strides like that is a thing to be very hopeful for. And I think reasonably hopeful for, not toxically hopeful for, coming up in 2025. Also, Katie, I mean, the number one thing is this is going to be the first full year that Hot Take Heindl exists in the universe. How can you not be thrilled about that? You know, we're not going to have you. We'll it's still the holidays. We're not going to force you to bust anything out here today, Katie, but to know that over the course of the next 12 months, the Hot Take Heindl character is going to have a chance to evolve and sort of, I think, embed itself into the consciousness of the NBA intelligentsia. I'm thrilled, Katie. Could not be more into it. I'm guessing you're feeling the exact same about this.
A little nervous. A bit nervous.
I'm gonna have some graphics made up to just put some flames around you on the screen, much like
like when it starts. That would be cool.
Yeah, we know you love pyrotechnics, Katie. Like,
I
your
do.
favorite thing is little plumes of fire at Raptors games. We're gonna find some way to incorporate that into the podcast here. I'm not great at production, so someone smarter than me will have to do it, but we'll get there, I promise. Anyway, thank you so much, Katie, for being here. A delight to have you, as always, as we wrap up, I guess, the holiday window of the podcast and start taking things seriously again next week, damn it. But anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
Yeah, today in our newsletter, I wrote about Jimmy Butler finally speaking out, if you want to talk about taking things seriously, and requesting a trade and saying he will not find joy again with the Miami Heat. Okay.
We're never going to see another one like Jimmy ever again. It's
no.
the absolute best, an absolute king. Screw Pat Riley, I think, is the prevailing takeaway here. We're going to leave it there. Please support the newsletter. You can subscribe to the Locked On Raptors newsletter and all of the team-focused Locked On NBA newsletters. Just go to the QR code on the screen to support the Raptors one. You can go to the link in the description of the podcast as well. I'll have some toxic positivity for your asses today in the newsletter, as I always do on Fridays. And we're back again next week as we talk about a team that's on a 2-game winning streak, surely about to make it 3 against the Bucks on Monday. Immanuel Quickley, 19 assists on Friday. Can't believe that he's just dishing like he's prime Steve Nash. Unbelievable stuff. We'll talk about that on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy Raptors magic. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye. Ooh, damn. Still haven't hit one to start the year. Not great.